Have you ever had a moment so strangely timed, so eerily aligned, that it felt like the universe was whispering to you? Not shouting, not explaining, just whispering. You think of an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and moments later, your phone lights up with a message from them. You dream of a symbol, something obscure, something you don't even understand. And then you see it painted on a wall the next day in a city you've never been to before. You feel something shift, not logically but deeply, like reality itself just leaned in closer, asking you to listen. And in that instant, it doesn't feel like a coincidence. It feels like a key turning in a lock you didn't know was there. These are moments that defy explanation. They don't ask for belief, they ask for attention. Carl Jung called them synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to defy cause and effect. Moments where the inner world and outer world mirror each other in uncanny ways, as if your soul and the universe are having a secret conversation. But here's the haunting question. What if synchronicities are more than just odd timing? What if they're messages? Not just random anomalies, but signs, clues, invitations from something greater than ourselves, some deeper intelligence that doesn't speak in words but in symbols, in alignments, in mystery. And what if you've been missing them? What if the universe has been speaking to you, but you've forgotten how to listen? You see, we live in a world obsessed with logic, obsessed with linearity. Everything must make sense. Everything must have a cause. And anything that dares to dance outside those lines is dismissed as superstition or worse, delusion. But beneath that surface, beneath the noise and distraction, there's a quieter reality. One that doesn't operate in straight lines, but in spirals, patterns, echoes. That's the world synchronicity belongs to. It doesn't care about proof. It's not interested in certainty. It's here to awaken you, to remind you that your life, your pain, your longing, your dreams might be part of a larger design you can't yet see. And maybe that's what scares us most. Not that life is meaningless, but that it might be too meaningful. So meaningful that every glance, every delay, every heartbreak might contain a hidden message. But we don't always recognize the signs. Why? Because synchronicities don't shout. They unfold in the subtle, symbolic language of the soul. They ask you to feel rather than think, to connect rather than analyze, to remember something ancient and forgotten, something you knew as a child before the world taught you how to doubt. In those rare moments when a synchronicity crashes through your routine, when reality bends and something deeper emerges, you are not just witnessing chance. You are being spoken to, and the message, that's what we're here to uncover. In this video, we'll explore the 5 different types of synchronicity, each one revealing a different layer of the mystery. Some are personal, intimate, whispering directly to your unconscious desires. Others are cosmic, archetypal, cracking open your worldview. Some arrive to warn, others to guide. But all of them carry one unmistakable signature, meaning beyond logic, purpose beyond proof. You don't need to believe in anything to feel their impact. You only need to remember how to see, how to feel, how to trust the strange alignments in your life that keep pulling you toward something more. So stay with me, because once you begin to recognize the patterns, once you learn the language of synchronicity, life will never look the same again. It will feel alive, intentional, like a dream that knows you're watching. And it all starts now. The first type of synchronicity isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with lightning or fireworks. It slips in through the cracks, soft, quiet, almost forgettable, unless you're paying attention. These are personal echoes, moments when the unconscious mind seems to spill outward, staining the world around you with symbols that match your internal state. Not because you made them happen, but because something deeper than thought is at work, something archetypal, intuitive, and ancient. You think of someone you haven't seen in years, and then you spot a stranger wearing their exact cologne. Or you're grappling with a decision, job, relationship, direction, and that night, a dream gives you an answer. The next morning, you walk past a graffiti mural you've never seen before, and scrawled in bold paint are the exact words from your dream. It doesn't make sense, and yet it makes sense. That's the paradox of the personal echo. It shouldn't be possible, and yet it feels intentional. Like your unconscious is arranging the external world to speak your inner truth back to you. Carl Jung often said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Synchronicities are one of the ways that unconscious material becomes conscious, not through analysis, but through reflection, through resonance, through the eerie, poetic alignment of inner need and outer symbol. And the more emotionally charged your inner state is, the more confusion, grief, longing, or even joy you're carrying, the louder this type of synchronicity tends to become. Because your psyche isn't trying to stay silent, it's trying to break through. This is why synchronicities often appear during transitions, breakups, deaths, new beginnings, spiritual crises, times when the ego is destabilized and the unconscious is rising, when logic begins to fray at the edges and meaning, raw, wild meaning, starts to pour in through the seams. You might find yourself obsessively drawn to a specific animal or number or name that suddenly begins appearing everywhere. Not because it's magic, not because the universe is playing tricks on you, but because some part of your deeper self is reaching out, trying to deliver a message the conscious mind hasn't yet understood. And here's what most people miss. Synchronicities are never random, but they're also not always literal. The world doesn't speak in plain English. It speaks in metaphor, in symbol, in dreams. So when a personal synchronicity arises, don't rush to explain it away, and don't immediately try to decode it like a puzzle. Instead, feel into it. Sit with the moment. Ask what emotion is surfacing, what inner truth this outer reflection is trying to point you toward. Maybe the name that keeps repeating belongs to someone you haven't fully forgiven. Maybe the number that shows up again and again links to an age, a memory, a buried trauma. Maybe the strange animal you keep seeing represents a forgotten part of your personality, wild, instinctual, free. In the end, the personal echo is not about predicting the future or escaping the present. It's about returning to wholeness, reclaiming what you've ignored, because your unconscious knows. It always knows. And when it can't reach you through thought, it reaches through coincidence, through timing, through synchronicity. This kind of synchronicity is deeply intimate and sometimes deeply unsettling. It bypasses your logic, reaches past your defenses, and holds up a mirror to something you didn't know you needed to see. Not because it's trying to hurt you, but because it's trying to awaken you. You are not separate from the symbols you encounter. You are not isolated from the signs you keep noticing. These are your unconscious truths, your emotional fingerprints, reflected back at you through the fabric of reality. And the more you notice them, the more they multiply. Not because you're crazy or delusional or grasping for meaning, but because your psyche has realized you're finally listening. So let me ask you this. What has life been echoing back to you lately? What signs keep showing up? Quiet, persistent, unresolved? And more importantly, what are they trying to tell you? Because once you tune into this layer of existence, something changes. The silence between things becomes charged. The random becomes radiant with possibility. And suddenly, you're not just walking through the world, you're being guided through it. There are moments when life stops pretending to be random. Moments when something clicks into place so perfectly, so impossibly, that you stop mid-step, mid-thought, mid-sentence, and wonder, who's writing this script? This is the second type of synchronicity, the web of timing. It's not about what's happening inside of you. It's about what's happening around you, and how the timing of it all starts to feel too exact, too poetic, too perfect to be chalked up to luck. You miss your train by 5 seconds, only to avoid an accident. You take a wrong turn and run into someone who ends up changing your life. You randomly decide to visit a bookstore, and there, on the exact shelf, at eye level, is the book that answers the question you didn't even know you were asking. These aren't just charming coincidences, they feel orchestrated, like the universe for a brief moment pulled back its curtain and let you peek into its choreography. Carl Jung called this a causal connection. Events that are not linked by cause and effect, but by meaning. A deeper, mysterious patterning that connects seemingly unrelated things across space and time. And the eerie part? These events often require other people's choices or entire chains of decisions to align just right. That person had to leave their house early. That taxi had to be running late. That book had to be returned to that exact shelf 10 minutes before you arrived. It's like invisible threads are being pulled all around you, creating openings, nudges, crossroads, and you only recognize them when you step through one. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. These kinds of synchronicities tend to appear when we reach moments of decision or crisis, when we're about to change direction or need confirmation that we're on the right path. It's almost as if reality itself becomes participatory, as if life responds to your movement, not always in words, not even in outcomes, but in symbols, in alignments, in tiny miracles of timing. You might be lost, utterly, hopelessly lost, and then someone you haven't seen in years calls you out of nowhere saying, "I don't know why, but I felt like I had to reach out." Or you're questioning whether to take a leap. New job, new city, new relationship. And then a song starts playing in the cafe you're sitting in. A song that carries a message so direct, so piercing. It feels like the universe just leaned in and whispered, "Go." Skeptics will say these are all just chance, that with billions of people and trillions of interactions, some coincidences are bound to happen. And that's true, on a statistical level. But that misses the point, because synchronicities aren't about statistics. They're about significance. Meaning isn't something we calculate. It's something we feel. And if you've ever lived through one of these moments, when everything just falls into place with uncanny precision, you know that feeling isn't delusion, it's recognition. Like you've slipped into the slipstream of something greater than yourself. This kind of synchronicity isn't just personal, it's cosmic. It's a glimpse into the way life weaves. And once you notice it, you begin to realize something quietly astonishing. Life isn't just happening to you, it's happening with you. Because these moments aren't just about outcomes, they're invitations. Invitations to wake up, to engage, to say yes when every part of you wants to stay small and hidden and safe. And the universe? It has a strange way of rewarding courage, of stepping in when you take the first step. So what if these moments of timing, these impossible meetings, these last-minute turns, these random phone calls, aren't accidents? What if they're the universe conspiring in your favor, just waiting for you to notice? What if that missed train saved your life? What if that delay gave love time to catch up? What if that strange detour was the point all along? These are the questions the second type of synchronicity asks us to sit with. Not to answer with logic, but to live into. Because if you pay close enough attention, you'll start to notice how the world begins to organize itself around your sincerity, around your longing, around your willingness to listen. And when that happens, you're no longer just walking through a linear timeline. You're dancing with it. And the dance is beautiful. There are few things more unnerving than thinking of someone, and then they call you, not just once, but again and again, until it becomes impossible to write off as mere chance. Or you're sitting silently beside a friend, and you both blurt out the same idea at the same time. Or you dream about someone you haven't spoken to in years, only to learn they dreamt about you that same night. These are not the polished, orchestrated synchronicities of timing or inner symbols. They are messy, intimate, often deeply emotional, and they point to something even stranger than fate, a shared field of consciousness. Carl Jung once described this as the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of symbols, instincts, and archetypes that lives beneath our awareness, not just individually, but together. It's where myths are born, where stories repeat themselves across cultures that never touched, and where sometimes two minds seem to touch without words, without wires, without time in between. Shared synchronicities suggest we are more connected than we appear, that under the surface, we are not separate minds bumping through life alone. We are part of something more like a web. And through that web, messages can travel, emotions can ripple. Intuition can flow from one soul to another, especially when there's love, grief, or deep emotional charge involved. You've probably felt it before. That eerie knowing that someone was thinking of you. That electric pulse when someone you love is hurting, even if they're miles away. Science may not fully understand it, but experience does. And it gets stranger. Sometimes groups of people begin experiencing the same signs, numbers, animals, phrases, without knowing the others are seeing them too. As if a single message is being broadcast across a silent wavelength, and only those tuned in can receive it. You might dismiss one instance, maybe even two, but when 3 or 4 people in your life start dreaming the same symbols, or hearing the same phrase from strangers, or feeling the exact same shift in the air, something else is going on. This is the kind of synchronicity that whispers, "You're not going crazy, others are seeing it too." It reminds you that your awakening is not an isolated glitch in the system. It's part of something rising, something collective. And that realization brings both awe and responsibility. Because when your mind links up with another through synchronicity, you begin to understand just how much your inner world influences the outer one. Your thoughts are not trapped behind your skull. They echo, they ripple. And the more emotionally honest you are, the more you begin to notice. People around you start reflecting your inner state. You're angry, tension shows up in others. You're centered, suddenly the chaos quiets. You're holding a question in your heart, and someone casually speaks the answer over coffee. This is more than coincidence. It's coherence. It's a glimpse into how consciousness might be shared, not just individually, but relationally. And in those rare, sacred moments when synchronicity brings two people to the same truth at the same time, it's hard not to feel like you're witnessing some deeper intelligence at play. You didn't plan this. You didn't manufacture it. But it found you both, together. And maybe that's the quiet message behind these shared synchronicities. You were never walking this alone. There are moments in life that split you in half. Moments so strange, so perfectly timed. They don't just make you question the world. They make you question time itself. You think back to that book you found years ago, one you felt pulled to open. At the time, it meant nothing. A strange quote, a single highlighted phrase. You forgot it. Then, years later, in the middle of a breakdown or a breakthrough, that exact line comes rushing back to you, and suddenly, it makes perfect sense. Like a message you wrote to your future self, hidden in plain sight. Or maybe it's a person. You meet them at a train station, a gallery, a hospital. You talk for 5 minutes. They say one sentence, just one, and then disappear forever. But what they said? It changes the course of your life. This is not just synchronicity. This is time folding in on itself. This is the kind of moment that doesn't just connect two dots, it rewrites the entire pattern. Carl Jung once said that synchronicities aren't just personal, they're acts of creation in time. They're not random events, they're intersections, moments when meaning becomes more real than matter. And at the highest level, they reveal a chilling, beautiful truth. Something new. Something knew what you would need, knew where you would break, knew what message had to land in your heart before you were even ready to receive it. It's not just about the symbols anymore, not just the numbers, the birds, the songs on the radio. It's about timing so precise, it makes logic tremble. You start to wonder, what if the future is already whispering to the present? What if fate isn't something we stumble into, but something we wake up to, one synchronicity at a time? It's like discovering that the script of your life wasn't written line by line, forward in time, but in loops, spirals, echoes, where future and past are not separate, but always in conversation. And in those rare moments when a synchronicity arrives before you even know why you'll need it, you feel it, like a thread being tugged from some deeper realm of intelligence. A pattern so intricate, it makes you feel small, and yet known. This final kind of synchronicity doesn't come to impress you. It comes to break you open, to shake the idea that life is random, to destroy the illusion that you are wandering in the dark without help. And once you've had one of these moments, you're never the same. You begin to see life differently, not as a linear path, but as a constellation, not just made of events, but of messages hidden in them. You become a listener, a watcher, a participant in something much older and wiser than you. You stop asking, "Is this real?" And you start asking, "What is it trying to show me?" That's the ultimate message of synchronicity. Not that the universe is magical, but that it is alive, and that it wants to communicate with you. If you're open, if you're paying attention, if you're willing to listen, you'll hear it. Not just in numbers or dreams or perfect timing, but in every moment that feels impossibly meaningful. Because those moments, they are not mistakes. They are invitations to remember who you really are, to follow the thread, and to step into a version of your life where nothing is random and everything is speaking. Thank you for watching. If this video made something shift inside you, I hope you'll take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. This channel, Wisdom and Wounds, is where we explore the soul behind the chaos and the light hiding inside life's strangest moments. Until next time, stay curious, stay awake, and I'll see you in the next video.